Hi, I'm Jamie. This is Dead Dodge Garage, and this is the new Bluesmobile. This thing really needs no introduction, but I'll give it one anyway. 1974 Dodge Monaco police car. Tom Hergert over at Rocket Restorations did a video on this car recently. If you want more details, particulars, number plate breakdown, that kind of thing, go over to his channel. I can tell you that this was an original Washington State Patrol car, which is pretty cool. It's got their fancy double padded seat they always insisted on, and other cop car things. If you've followed my channel for a while, there's a really good chance you recognize this car. I've been working at Rocket here and making videos for almost 2 years, and for that entire time, that Blues Brothers clone has been sitting right here. Many people have asked about it. I've been interested in trying to revive it, since I got here, and for some reason that's never happened. Recently, Tom moved it out here because it was supposed to get picked up by a shipper. You see, this car was sold some time ago, but it's never left. Now he's got the Jeep out to taunt me. Can I get the Monaco running, or are we gonna have to drag it back into the hole? Let's find out. The driver's door doesn't open, which is only slightly inconvenient. Well, that one does. Oh look, the giant speaker that belongs on the roof. Did I mention the bees? I'm not a fan of the bees. Anyway, let's pop the hood and find more bees. Oh, maybe I already did. Whoa, it's like a chameleon effect on this paint. I don't think that's supposed to do that. Anyway. Wow, a big block. I'm not gonna do the whole Blues Brothers bit. I could, but I'm not gonna. Anyway, it's got a cop motor, a 440 cubic inch plant. Oh yeah, the hood hingey, springy, rollery thingy is kind of messed up on this thing. I gotta watch my head because it might fall on me. It's been a long time since we talked about this, but I know Evan tried to get it running once and it kind of said no. I'm really not necessarily liking the look of that. Is the electronic ignition module even still grounded to the car through that? I don't know. Also, a bunch of goop has come out of it, so it's probably bad. Also, the coil wiring is not good. Thermoquad. It's not even seized solid. Choke doesn't work anymore. I've been really tired lately. Ever since getting back from that crazy road trip across America. Anyway, I grabbed our one decent battery, and the car's not on fire yet, so that's good. There are all kinds of interesting details on here if you care to find them. There's the big giant 100 amp alternator, as Tom showed in his video. This here is kind of nifty. This is an adapter for a hose that you would use on your Washington State Patrol car to fill up another vehicle that ran out of gas on the side of the highway. Here's the heater control valve for when you activate the air conditioning. I actually have one of these new in a box for my 79 Chrysler because it's the same part, or at least almost the same part. Someone took the liberty of unhooking the fuel line for me. That's great because there's no way we're running this thing on the gas tank. We've got to see if we've got sparks, and I am not holding my breath on that one. Wow, it cranks. In my classic Chrysler ignition systems video from a really long time ago, I explained an easy test to check for a good or bad electronic ignition module. When you turn the key on and then off again, you should get one spark out of the coil. If you do, the module's good. Another way you can do that is turn the key on and then connect and disconnect the battery. Hear that? That is a spark. But in case you don't want to trust your ear, pop the coil wire off and do that. What do you know? It sparks. That's great news. So we know the box is good. Now we need to see if the distributor is good. And the way we do that is the same thing. Crank the engine over. What's interesting is it is sparking, but it's not sparking every time. Not 100% sure what to think of that yet, but hopefully it's enough to do something. Something else cool is happening here too. This is the EGR valve, and it's broken. As the engine's turning over, it's moving. It's moving because there's pressure in the exhaust crossover here. I think that's because the crossover valve on the passenger side manifold, the flapper valve thingy, is stuck shut. So all the exhaust from over here is having to flow under the carburetor to come out the left side pipe. This might not work, but it might. So let's give it a shot. Grab the key. thing sounds terrible. So, it sounds terrible. It went bang out the exhaust. It's kind of sort of smoking out the top of the carburetor. None of those things are good signs. Whatever. Anyway, I am going to try and crank it with the key. That raises the voltage that's getting to the coil by bypassing the ballast resistor. Maybe it'll explode faster. Now, there are multiple possibilities here. It could have lost the timing chain, you know, that's not unheard of. It could have been messed with. The firing order could be wrong. The distributor could have been pulled out and reinstalled 180 out. I'm going to investigate a couple of those possibilities and we'll see what we've got. Firing order is correct. 18436572. And of course that is counterclockwise on a big block. They're actually in the correct factory locations. Obviously the routing and the holders and things like that have been messed with, but number one is right, whichever, there, I guess. You know, now that I'm looking at it, oh, yeah, it's in the right location on the cap, but the whole distributor had been cranked way that way. So, okay, let's see what that does. It's always a good sign when someone has come through and loosened the distributor to crank on it a bunch, right? Yeah, sparks are shooting somewhere. Or maybe it's the choke flopping around? Yeah, I think that's what it is. Okay, I advanced it all. Yeah, not looking too good here. The last thing I'm gonna do is pull the number one plug, pull the cap, bump it over until I'm convinced I'm at TDC 1, you know, compression rushes out of the plug hole and then stops, and we'll see where the rotor's pointing. If it's pointed vaguely toward number one, that's not our issue. If it's pointed like, you know, in some random direction, we don't have a timing chain anymore. Well, it's there, but it, you know, it's bad stuff has happened with it. Man, it sure doesn't look amazing in there. It's crusty, and the advance mechanism is sticky, but it's still working. Yeah, your distributor shouldn't do that. That's not good. Anyway, the rotor's definitely like tight. Distributor's still attached to something down there, so that's probably a good sign. Ooh, Imperial. Really like this car. Brace yourself. The "you're just trying to be Vice Grip Garage" comments are coming. Seriously, that's really cool. Well, there's no good news there. Well, I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but I bumped it over till I felt compression, and that's actually right, or really close to right. I guess I should tighten the distributor down and then see what happens. Oh, Tom checked the oil, and there was some, right?
Yep.
That means it's fine. Distributor bolt access is really annoying on big blocks with air conditioning, even though it's right here on the front. It's nothing compared to AC-equipped small blocks, though. You might be thinking that the distributor being loose could cause a ground issue. I happen to know that's not how electric pickups work. On a points distributor, sure, they ground through the body. Anyway, let's see if that changed anything. I bet it didn't. I did get more gas. I'm gonna need that, like all of it. Oh yeah, put the spark plug back in. That's important. I forget that step sometimes. Here we go. What do you know? It's the same. Watch your eyebrows. Choke door. Let's try that. Get some air. You probably heard that. It kind of sort of tries on like one cylinder. So I have a theory, and the theory is all the valves are nasty. Half stuck. It's not looking too good. Fireballs are bust though, right? Yeah. That's too much time. That's a really neat smell. Still too much timing. The one good battery is not sounding too good. Not very good connection on the ground side there. Oh, come on now. Really? Okay, well, that's unfortunate. We'll let it think about its life for a minute here. Recall I was slightly suspicious of the distributor in the car. Here's a random one from the back room, which I checked out, adjusted the pickup in. It's definitely got a bad vacuum advance, but who cares about that? Tons and tons of spark, reliably. So I'm gonna swap it out, and we'll see if that helps. Aside from the air conditioning system right in the way, working on the big block Mopar distributor here could not be any easier. It's gotta be about the easiest one there is. Yeah, Fords have them on the front too, but of course those seize solid in the blocks, like often. And they're driven by a gear, much like a GM. So when you pull the thing out, the gear can go all kinds of different directions and you have to clock it. On these Mopars, because they're driven by a flat blade, you can only install them right or wrong. So take note of which way your rotor's pointing. Point the rotor the same way with your new one, and you're gonna be good to go. Hey, this is kind of cool. It's a tan distributor cap, right? And it says made in USA, so that's great. Notice it doesn't have a vent on it. I don't see the arrows. Well, okay, it might not be a factory original one, but it's a correct one. The originals don't have a vent of any kind. If you're trying to find an original distributor cap, it should look like that. Now remember, this is experience talking. After you're done replacing your distributor, plug it in. It'll run better. Here's fireballs. Oh, come on. Why? Oh. Whoa. Usually the visually correct position for the distributor on a big block is with the vacuum pod like here. So that's normally what I go for. I've got it backed off a little bit from there. We'll see if it helps. It probably won't. Oh, shouldn't have looked in there. Big money. Yeah, that battery's done for. Great.
Okay, ready?
Sure. Isn't that cool? Well, okay, we'll back it off even more.
Making all sorts of weird noises.
I know. All right, go again. Yeah.
What is that?
Well, it sparks when you shut it off. That's your test spark. Go. Hold on. Well, now we've got two good ones. So that's good. Okay, go. I go again. Alright. I'm gonna need someone to explain that to me, because the distributor is in right, and the timing's close, and it sounds like it has some compression, but it's like, it's not good.
Well, they're always parked for a reason. So.
Well, I realize that, but how could, if the timing chain was messed up, right, the distributor timing would be off. But I checked it, and the rotor was right where it should be. It's not looking good.
You ever been stumped in the Polaris?
Well, you know, Evan's truck did like exactly this and made all the same weird sounds. Sounded like a whale, you know? It's kind of goofy. If I were to guess, looking at this, the timing is super late. But when I put it here, it acts like it's way too much. The people are going to want to know why I don't do a compression check, but I'm not going to. This is a weird one. It acts like it needs more timing and less timing. It coughs out of the carb, it kicks back against itself. There is exhaust moving through the pipes at times. I've killed 2 batteries, pulled another random plug just for fun. It's not wet, so it's probably sparking. It looks like garbage. The deposits on there are just terrible. I knocked a chunk of it off, and there's ceramic down there somewhere. This definitely isn't ideal. A fresh set of plugs would be a really good idea. Unfortunately, as mentioned, this isn't our car. This thing was sold a long time ago, and there is zero budget for it. I'm just doing this for fun. I don't know what to think. I gotta go, do something else for a minute. Cheese stick. Yeah, she's a bit of an oil burner. Ugh. To boldly go where no Jeep has yet gone today. Whee! Oh, is that... Oh, just kicking up clouds of seeds. Oh, my wheeling spot's thrown over. Whee! Someone's been out here. Tom! Well, I want to go up there. Oh, quite the ride. What a lovely day. Ah! Who left that hunk of junk in the way? Ooh, crew cab. All right. Battery's probably charged by now. Ah, the flat fender. Like a quad, but way better. You might have some suggestions for things I'm not thinking of here. Go ahead and shout them out now. You're gonna have to shout louder than that. I didn't hear you. This ignition box is no spring chicken, but you've seen the tests that I did to confirm that it does work. And it does work, so I don't see much point in changing that. I felt okay swapping out the distributor because, as you saw, there was pretty weak and inconsistent spark when the thing was cranking. Either way, it was sparking. It's definitely sparking now, and occasionally it pops and farts and squeaks and blows smoke out the carburetor. I've seen nothing but strong sparks from this coil. I'm confident it is just fine. Using compression on the number 1 cylinder, I've verified that the distributor is pointed the right direction. At least the rotor is pointed roughly the right direction, meaning the timing chain hasn't jumped or fallen apart or anything like that. It's definitely close. I've gone back and forth with the timing setting of the distributor body. To no avail. It made no difference. It made no improvement. Sometimes it kicks back, sometimes it farts out the carb, sometimes the exhaust tries to explode, but it never actually tries to run. Well, except on 1 cylinder. I'm pretty sure the exhaust crossover valve is stuck. Well, I know it's stuck. I'm pretty sure it's stuck closed. I could probably move that, but I don't think it's going to help much. The plugs look like garbage, but they're not soaked in gasoline or anything like that. They should at least give us enough sparks to, do something. We know the ballast resistor is good, and even if it wasn't good, cranking with the key would eliminate that as a possibility. The gas I'm using is pretty fresh, smells nice, and again, you've seen it create fire. We could well have valve sealing issues. Cast your mind back to the 1961 Polera with the big block that I tried to revive. Right there. It sat right there for a really long time. It's since moved on to greener pastures. Anyway, what this car is doing reminds me a lot of what that car was doing. If I advanced the timing too much, the engine would kick back, but if I, moved the distributor to what should have been a correct spot, it just didn't do anything at all. This is pretty close to that, but with more fire. I'm reminded even more of this thing. This is one of Evan's crusty trail dusters. He tried to get it running, and it did all kinds of weird things, including making strange sounds that reminded me of a whale. Never did fire up, and we never got down to the bottom of what that issue was either. We'll probably attempt that again someday, but today is not that day, and currently, it's a mystery. I briefly entertained the possibility of a clogged exhaust system, or a clogged pipe on the left anyway, where all of the exhaust is currently being diverted. But I put a camera back here and cranked the engine. Not only could you hear it pop a few times, but you could also see the plants moving there near to the pipe. So there was definitely air moving through the exhaust. What am I not thinking of here? I have no idea. They say the definition of insanity is trying the same thing and expecting a different result. They must have seen my show. I guess the battery didn't charge in the Jeep. That's a problem. All right, well, that was fun. Here's what I want you to do. If you can think of something that I didn't check, or I didn't mention, or something that I would be stupid to not try, let me know that down in the comments because I'm really curious. I got nothing on this one. Everything seems right-ish, and yet it clearly is not. Well, that's not good. This crap's getting old. Yeah. No, it seems right. What a profound waste of time. Spiders. Ooh. Ugh. Ugh. So I just totally gave up on this yesterday. But I've been thinking about it, and I had a few ideas, so I thought I'd give it one more go. The first thing I really wanted to do was unseize the exhaust crossover valve. Unfortunately, it has other ideas, so I guess that's fine. I only broke it a little bit. That's the good news. Plugs. This could be a plug problem. If there's no path to ground through a spark plug, the spark's going to go somewhere, and that somewhere could well be a neighboring cylinder. So the odd puffs out the intake or, back running that sounds like way too much spark advance could be a spark jumping across the cap and lighting the wrong plug. So I'm pulling all the spark plugs. I pulled 2 yesterday, and while they didn't look amazing, they look kind of okay. I should have just gone ahead and checked them all. That one I don't think is gonna do the stuff we need. The last thing I'm going to do is pour some Marvel down the carb. I replaced the 5 worst spark plugs with 5 lightly used, only slightly black spark plugs, so I'm sure that'll do something. Now I get to walk 200 feet and grab a battery again. What was that thing about insanity? Also, a bee just flew into the side of my head. That was cool. Party. That was cool. Slightly on fire, that's fine. Kind of sounds the same, but with more smoke. Well, it's not kicking back anymore, so that's interesting. It's not sounding too good, is it? It's not smelling good either, so I think we're about done here. I definitely don't want to put a starter in it. Okay. Last idea. Nothing wrong in here. Whoa. Did that always work? Huh. All right then. You know I hate to do this. Yeah, pretty sure the starter's leaving us. All right, I finally did what Tom suggested like an hour or two ago. I'm and pulled a valve cover. And boy, am I glad I did. Upon first inspection, everything's fine. There's a little bit of rust in here, but I'm not worried about that. Push rods are all kind of sort of happy. Nothing's like bent. You know, obviously our lifters aren't really pumped up despite all the cranking. Not a whole lot of oil pressure happening just yet, but that's fine. Nothing in here looks super bad, right? Allow me to turn the key while you watch the rocker arms and listen. What do you notice? Sometimes they're moving and sometimes they aren't. Now, I definitely consider timing chain as a possible cause. As I mentioned, that's why I took the distributor cap off, lined up number 1 on compression stroke, and noted where the rotor was pointing. And it was lined up. It might have been a few degrees off, but it was really, really close to lined up with 1 on the cap. And I bumped the engine over and it rotated and everything seemed fine. Everything is not fine. The timing chain is not timing chaining correctly. It's still in there, but for one reason or another, the cam is no longer completely linked to the crank. The most obvious cause would be fried nylon cam gear teeth. That would make a lot of sense. I actually think it might be something else though, because if you notice, the rockers are kind of always moving. It's not like it grabs, it doesn't grab, it grabs, it doesn't grab. They're always moving, but slowly. See that? It's like the cam's still moving, but just super slowly. So I think what might have happened here, someone might have done the timing and they may not have torqued the bolt correctly. So what could have happened is that came loose and then the gear would have been slapping around. It could have slapped around to the point that it knocked the dowel out of the cam. And now it's just hanging on for dear life. The gear is sitting on the cam and it's rotating, but it's not actually moving the camshaft itself all the time. If this were a small block, we could confirm that by pulling the fuel pump out. When you do that on a small block, you can look in and see the chain. We could grab it, we could see what it's doing, we could look for chunks of nylon gear. Unfortunately, because this is a big block, no such luck. The timing chain is outside of a cast section, so pulling the fuel pump off does nothing. You really have to just take the pump off, take the balancer off, and pull the timing cover, which I'm not willing to do. I really wanted to hear this thing run, but it's not going to happen. There's just no time, no budget, and no interest in going that far on my part. But hey, the mystery is solved, and I learned something. I have never seen this happen before. Well, I have had a cam gear come loose once because allegedly I didn't put the cam button in right, but that's another story altogether. Finding a new failure and learning something, it's almost just as good. I've seen a lot of different issues over the years that cause these things not to run. Usually ignition related. You saw me work through all of those. So it's just good to have as much information as possible. As many experiences, as many weird failures. You build up your knowledge base and get to the point where you just hear something and you kind of know what's going on. In this case, the real weirdness was the fact that sometimes it would have a little bit of compression and stuff happening. Sometimes it wouldn't have compression. It would have too much timing, not enough timing. It was just weird. It was all over the place. To whoever bought this car and eventually has to fix this thing, you might want to repair the cowl. That would be a nice idea. This module is actually good, despite being horribly melted and gooey. You need a timing chain set and probably a dowel pin for your cam. You need valve cover gaskets. That one over there is destroyed. And a set of fresh plugs. Probably a good idea. If this thing had fired up, we probably would have found out that this thermoquad is total garbage pretty quick, but we didn't get the chance, which is unfortunate. Oh, also, every piece of rubber on it is like brittle and ruined and bad, so maybe there are a lot of things to fix, you know, opportunities for improvement. That's what I'm saying. Okay, yeah, it was a total failure and a colossal waste of time. Way she goes. Way she goes. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that. I certainly, well, yeah. In any case, thank you very much for watching. And remember, it's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it! Oh, people keep asking me about the Dakota RT. It's It's here. I traded it for the ramp truck. No regrets. Anyway. What a unit! Why don't we have a camera crew around here all the time? Just filming all these dumb things we do. Woo. Like this. Whee! Oh yeah, great off-roader.